Hey guys, welcome back to Jump Ball Central. Today we're looking at the greatest historical rivalries in the NBA. The NBA features some of the most intense rivalries in all of sports, whether they're divisional rivals, conference rivals, championship rivals, or two teams that simply hate each other. These matchups have given fans some of the most entertaining battles in basketball history. Superstar players like Magic Johnson, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, and Larry Bird have been front and center for some of the most notorious moments, including fights, epic Game 7 battles, and championship wins. Number 6. Larry Bird vs. Julius Irvin. Just as Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain had keyed the Boston-Philadelphia rivalry in the 1960s, Larry Bird and Julius Irvin did the same for their respective teams in the 1980s. When Bird joined the Celtics following his stellar college career at Indiana State in 1979, he immediately brought respectability back to the franchise. General manager Red Auerbach saw that Bird had all the skills needed to lead the Celtics back to the championship form. Irving joined the 76ers after the NBA and ABA merged prior to the 1976-77 season, and he brought an amazing set of skills to the 76ers, which helped them rise in the East as well. Bird and Dr. J crossed paths many times, and while there was anger and passion in the rivalry, there was also deep mutual respect. Their battles were a virtual stalemate. The Bird-led Celtics and the Irving-led Sixers would split 4 playoff series, and the playoff games were also tied at 12-12. During the regular season, Bird's Celtics had a slight 23-21 advantage. Number 5. Phil Jackson vs. Pat Riley. Phil Jackson and Pat Riley's careers have mirrored each other for years. Both were players who came into the league in the 1967-68 season, and both became championship-level head coaches. Now, both are executives who are charged with building their teams into contenders. Neither Jackson nor Riley were star players, but both were contributors on championship-caliber teams. Riley became head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers in 1981, and led that team to 4 NBA titles. He later earned one more title with the Miami Heat in 2006. Jackson won 6 NBA titles as head coach of the Chicago Bulls, and then won 5 more as leader of the Lakers. His 11 championships as head coach allowed him to surpass Red Auerbach, who won 9 titles as head coach of the Boston Celtics, for most titles as a head coach. Number 4. Chicago Bulls vs. New York Knicks. The Chicago Bulls had many rivals during the Michael Jordan era, and they regularly punished opponents who got in their way as they climbed the playoff ladder. The New York Knicks were one of those teams. The Bulls and the Knicks met 6 times in the postseason between 1989 and 1995, and the Bulls were victorious in 5 of those series. Jordan's skill and emotional drive was often the difference in these series, as he often found the edge in the final moments to hold off the tough and physical Knicks. But while the Knicks regularly came out on the short end, they never backed down or conceded that the Bulls were the better team. The Knicks' only victory in the series came in the 1994 playoffs, one of the 2 seasons that Jordan left the Bulls in his attempt to play baseball. The Knicks won that series in 7 games and made it to the NBA Finals, but were beaten by the Houston Rockets. Jordan often was at his best in Madison Square Garden, and he scored 55 points in a 1995 game shortly after coming back from his baseball sojourn. Our number 3 today is Bill Russell vs. Wilt Chamberlain. Bill Russell is the greatest winner in NBA history, having led the Boston Celtics to 11 championships during a playing career that lasted from 1956 through 1969. Wilt Chamberlain was the game's most prolific scorer and a dominating physical specimen who could overpower nearly anyone who attempted to compete with him. His teams won 2 championships in a career that lasted from 1959 through 1973. Their greatest battles were often against each other, and Russell's Celtics often got the best of Chamberlain's teams. The Philadelphia Warriors, the San Francisco Warriors, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Los Angeles Lakers. Russell averaged 15.1 points and 22.5 rebounds per game throughout his career, but Chamberlain countered with 30.1 points and 22.9 rebounds per game. Chamberlain's prolific scoring worked against him in the public eye, as critics could not understand how such a powerful player could fail to get the best of Russell and his Celtics in the majority of their playoff confrontations. The number 2 rivalry comes from Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird. Unlike the Bill Russell-Wilt Chamberlain rivalry, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were not friends, at least not at the beginning of their rivalry. While the gregarious Johnson from Michigan State had nothing against Bird, the Indiana State star rarely trusted anyone from outside his inner circle. And Johnson certainly did not qualify. Their first epic confrontation came in the 1979 NCAA championship game, and Johnson's Spartans got the best of Bird's overmatched Sycamores. That dramatic opening act served as a prelude for the series of battles between Johnson's Showtime Los Angeles Lakers and Bird's Boston Celtics. The first of their NBA championship battles came in 1984, when Bird and the Celtics secured a 7-game triumph. The Lakers won the title the following year, beating the Celtics in 6 games and winning the championship in Boston. The victory was sweet for Los Angeles since the franchise had been dominated by the Celtics in so many playoff series. And our top, number 1 greatest NBA rivalry, the Boston Celtics versus Los Angeles Lakers. The Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers have met in the NBA Finals 12 times, and many of the battles have been classics. No 2 teams have ever met more often to decide their league championship in any professional sport. In addition to Bill Russell and Larry Bird, the Celtics have featured stars like John Havlicek, Sam Jones, Bob Cousy, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, and Paul Pierce. Wilt Chamberlain and Magic Johnson have been joined by brilliant names like Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worthy, Byron Scott, and Kobe Bryant. The Celtics won the first 8 times the 2 teams met for the title, but the Lakers have won 3 of the last 4 championship matchups. The first meeting took place in 1959, when the Lakers were still located in Minneapolis. The Celtics swept that series, and the Lakers would relocate to Los Angeles in 1960. They would push the Celtics to 7 games in 4 of the series through 1984, but they could never come through in the final game. That changed in 1985, when the Lakers won in 6 games, and they repeated that championship 2 years later. The 2 teams have renewed their rivalry in recent years, with the Celtics winning the title in 2008, while the Lakers got revenge in 2010. While both teams are currently struggling, the epic Boston-Los Angeles championship confrontation has been one of the NBA's signature moments and its greatest rivalry. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please drop a like and consider subscribing for more videos like this. Have an amazing day.